Atlanta, we have a zoning opportunity where you can build accessory dwelling units on available land that people can use it for Airbnb or for rental. Does that exist in Baltimore as well? Have you thought about adding that to your properties that you're renovating?
Yes, we own around 23 lots in the community. Ms. Jennings is my director of real estate development, so she can really answer that question, but I think I can pull from her energy. Getting the government support, I do have to, as much as we want to blame that there's not enough support, I think it's our responsibility to find all that's out there. So we have taken land, and we own the land. We've asked you to give us this property. So now that we have it, we're going to hurry up and build on it, make it available for first-time home buyers.
How are you working with the PSO project as far as what's coming there in the neighborhood, massive redevelopment, and with the Centennial Church project, as far as balancing what's expected at the PSO development as well as Centennial?
We're basically Old Town Mall area because we're right there on the corner, but we're not restricting the community that we're organizing with and in to Old Town only, right? We're going to be looking at Douglas Home, Pleasant View, Monument East, going into even as far as, say, Middle East, Madison East End, maybe Clifton a little bit, and certainly Perkins Home area. So we're working also with Change for Real, which maybe you're familiar with if you're in that area. Yeah, okay. So we're also connecting with Ms. Benton Jones, who's working with us closely actually in doing the organizing at the public housing spaces. So we have a real connection with PSO insofar as what's going to happen right there in the Old Town Mall corridor. What are they doing there? Because we also don't want to duplicate what they're planning to put in that place. That said, the degree to what we know the developers of Old Town Mall will actually put in those spaces, say downstairs of the housing, if that's how they're going to do it, that's not known yet. We have some plan from the one that was provided and developed between the community and the PSO folks, but it's not specific what exactly, because they're still looking at Perkins, as you know, and Somerset. So what's going to specifically happen, when groundbreaking is going to happen in Old Town, we're not so aware of that at this point. Okay, great. This is what these things are about.
So maybe start getting their hair done. So that's been showed that they have to make financial decisions. I don't usually see that type of operation in home buying workshops at all. What do you think?
Well, I can agree there's a huge need for financial literacy in our community, and it's bigger than we can ever attack. But in our first-time home buyers program, first it's an overview. It's a one-day session from 9 to 3, and so you get the overview. And then we offer financial literacy through our year-round youth programs. We connect families to it. When we do summer camp, for example, with 150 kids, their parents are required to come to orientation. And when they come to orientation, they get more than a summer camp preview. They get opportunities to walk into workshops on financial literacy. Once you meet with once you go through our class, then you go one-on-one with one of our HUD-certified housing counselors. They're going to give you the credit coaching, lead you in the direction, so that if it takes you 2 years before you're prepared to become a homeowner, our counselors will make sure you're ready. So we do workshops by, Skype. So we're doing everything we can to reach the community, but one of the things we learned is you actually have to knock on doors, as we do on a regular basis, and inform people of what's going on. A lot of people, I'll just give you this quick example. We fixed this one block, had a big trash problem. We fixed the problem. We knocked on doors, we got the whole community involved, they cleaned the community, they kept it clean, they built a park, they kept it clean. Then they moved out, and a new group of people came. So we had to start all over, and that's the same thing with financial literacy. You have to keep going at it. It never ends.
So I'll start my question. Now, I live in Pennsylvania, and so I was just wondering, because it sounds like everyone, receives public funding. So as we start to do some of the work that we're doing, and I said Pennsylvania, but I actually live in Philly, we know that Black and brown people are not just in our city, and I'm pretty sure our state is very much like your state. You have Philly, and then the rest of it is what they call Pennsylvania. And so with that in mind, in dealing with public funds, what is the conversation you have with some of your funders? Because as we, the same, talk about wealth distribution and all those things, people start to say some unfriendly things about some of our work that we're doing. So I just wanted to see and find out what is some of the language that you're using, and if you're just only working in the city or you're working in the state.
Well, for us, we're working in the city and a specific community, but we also did some work in Reservoir Hill. If you look up Callaway Avenue, you'll see 23 homes that we were contracted to redevelop, and we got an award for preserving these historic properties. So, but the conversation we have with the funders, state, local, even foundation, is that we have what it takes to leverage. We are not looking for a handout. We, as developers, as a nonprofit of color, we have a history of developing. We own a 47-unit senior apartment building called the Charles R. Uncles. We built the entire 2000 block of Front Street. So when we're talking to funders, we're letting them know we have a history of doing this, and we have our own. When we develop, we bring back what's called developer's fee. So we're not just looking for the state and the city for a handout. We're asking them to match what we're able to do.
So just quickly, what we're doing at this point is city, because we're starting where we're at, right? But certainly, as you might note on our website, we clearly say we're starting with where we're at, and we anticipate that this is going to function so well that it's going to spread across the city and outside the city into Maryland and beyond. Just like how there's an example in Portland and there's an example in San Diego, it just takes a lot of time and effort because you're shifting the norm, right? You're saying low-income people can be investors and landholders, even though they don't actually own their home. So that's like a completely paradigm shift of value, ideology of what America grew up on. But we have 2 data points already. And Baltimore is going to be the 3rd data point, and we're innovating on it in that we're going into public housing spaces. The other 2 places weren't working with public housing places. So we're saying and they didn't do housing. So we're innovating and bringing housing into it, because this is a way I think we can show asset maybe in a quicker way, because you can redevelop and you can sell. And so that return on investment into the person's pocketbook might actually invite their families to maybe think about investing instead of buying a handbag. Like, maybe I'll put that $10 into this thing because at the end of the year they got this much back from their investment. So we're certainly not holding this into the city. We're just starting where we're at.
And finally, in DC, I mean, we are a city, so it's really no state to talk to. But as it relates to our community, our equitable development investments, all of that money has come from foundation dollars. None of that money is coming from the public. And so we have raised $57 million already that's going directly into the community. That's almost a 1-to-1 match for what it's going to cost to build the bridge. And I think what's been attractive to a lot of the funders is this multi-sector approach that we've taken. And so it's oftentimes your housing industries are like working by themselves, or small businesses are working by themselves. And so we operate really to convene all of these different people together, because oftentimes they are serving the same target audience. And so, we're bringing them together and talking about, all right, like, what are some of the areas where we overlap and how can we collaborate, to bring more solutions to the community.
And I just want to suggest one more thing, and that's that you inventory your in-kind.
I've been kind of tracking the 11th Street Bridge project just through the news over the last couple of years. It's a compelling project. I know it's been in work for a very long time. I'd love to hear more about how you developed the equitable development plan, and what the engagement was, particularly with the community. And I know you talked about kind of the primary focus on being east of Anacostia, but I think my impression of Ward 6 is it's not, there are pockets that are wealthy, but there are pockets that kind of require the same kind of equitable development focus as well. I'd love to hear more about that as well.
So in terms of the community engagement process, there were a number of sessions to invite stakeholders to the table. As we talk about that, like, it's important to make sure, one, that you had as many voices as possible. So having those initial one-on-one conversations, finding out who were the champions in the community, finding out who were the nonprofit organizations, the faith-based organizations that have been doing great work in the community over time, and then finding out from them who else should be at the table, so that we could be as inclusive as possible when we're inviting people, looking at municipalities that needed to be there, community residents, community-based organizations, school leaders, all of those people, that it was really going to be important to just be a part of the process from the very beginning. And when they were brought together, they were pretty much broken up through 4 different topic areas: workforce, small business, arts and culture, and housing. And then those different people, came up with strategies amongst those 4 different work areas. As it relates to the Ward 6, Ward 8, you are correct. Where there is, it is, while Ward 6 is very affluent, there is, so just in the 1 mile radius around the park, there's a $450,000 difference in the median value of homes between what's going on in Ward 6 and what's in Ward 8. Now, as I say that, in Ward 8, in that 1 mile radius, you probably can't walk into a turnkey home for less than $450,000. And so that's at the low end. So, we're talking about how expensive it is in DC, for home ownership now. That's one conversation. But to your point, the highest percentage of public housing is actually in Ward 6. And so while a lot of our programming, a lot of our time has certainly been invested into Ward 8, and mainly because that's been an area that has been historically neglected, we are still inclusive to include a lot of the folks from Ward 6. Even with our, we have tenants' rights workshops.
The question is, does Baltimore have such a program? And if Baltimore does, to me it seems that the collaboration of using those funds for first-time home buyers, let's say an example of $80,000, and you give $150,000 market price for that home. You're talking about now a vulnerable resident looking at a first-time mortgage of only $70,000. And also coming in on top with $100,000 equity. Is there such a program in Baltimore that helps to further advance, the real estate wealth building for a vulnerable resident?
That's a very good question. The answer is there's not enough, but there are programs. And when you go through, Baltimore has the Live Where You Work program. They have a Bacon and Value program. The best thing about it is once you get the housing counseling training, they will lead you to different resources. I remember I went to closing with this one lady who came into our program, and she went home and did her homework. She ended up purchasing a home from us, and when it was time for her to come to the table, she was required to bring $1. She'd get her homework. She had this much money coming from here, and live where you work, and she added it all up, and all she was required to bring to the table was $1. So I think the answer is there, the resources are there. It's about how do you get this to the people. You know, even the mayor's office, if you were to challenge yourself as the mayor of a city, you might have $20 million. But if you get on the news and say we got $20 million and 20 million people show up for it, you're in trouble. So it's about, you need to know this stuff. The community needs to know this stuff. So it's our job to get out there and tell them, because they can't announce it like that. You know what I mean? We have to announce it. So yes, the answer is yes, not enough. But if someone were like Miss Peace, this lady who I know, they would do the research and they could find the resources.
And I love the point about the program. The acronym is HPAP, and it is an amazing resource for people that are interested in purchasing homes in DC. But what we have been finding through our home buyers workshop is, although that $80,000 is amazing, there are restrictions in terms of being able to use that money if you have to purchase a home and you have to use monies towards renovations. And so what's happening in DC right now, there is a limited inventory for homes that can be purchased without renovations with that $80,000. And so what we've been, to your point, it's about, we've had to really look at innovative ways so that, we can use those resources. So the Community Land Trust, it's called the Douglas Community Land Trust, has entered into conversations with MANA, which is the people who host our home buyers workshops, to say, hey, what we can do is also offer some subsidy in order to do the renovation, so that these people that have the HPAP can still take advantage of the HPAP program. And in addition, because it's going through the Community Land Trust, these are going to be homes that are going to be permanently affordable.
Renovation, but it looks at major renovation, kitchen, bathroom. So you probably want to look into that to update, your information on the HVAC program.
Yeah, I want to make a comment to the audience. Then I'm going to just piggyback on borrow these things you say about the DC market. And one of the uniqueness about the challenges in Washington DC, it's only a 10 by 10 square mile landmass. And so when you talk about the economics of real estate development in that city, there's no more land to develop spatially. So to develop in Washington, you have to go elevation. So that's why you're seeing a lot of the conversions of 3-story brownstones into 6 and 7, 8 unit buildings. And in some cases, you see the demolition of those single family properties that once housed families now being developed into multi-unit condos. So that's one of the challenges in Washington DC when it comes to development. The other challenge, just addressing home ownership, is that the real estate prices have increased so much in Washington, the value has increased so much that income has not competed with the value of the property. So even while you may give $80,000 towards a family purchasing, if you're making $40,000, trying to put those numbers together and equate that to buying a $400,000. That's what the challenge is with the HVAC program. Is yes, it's a good $80,000 initiative that probably worked really well in Baltimore.
Right.
But when you talk about the escalation of value of properties in Washington DC, it's minuscule. So what you see is that young white professionals who are able to collaborate and join that resources are the ones who have the opportunity to purchase and really utilize the program.
And look what capitalism has done. It's been completely extractive and exploited Black and brown communities. And I think it's, capitalism exists, neoliberalism exists, and to the extent that it has existed and exploited our communities, nobody's challenging that. But I think there comes a time now where as we continue to figure out how do we reinvent capitalism, we have to also look and think about how do we use capitalism in a more compassionate way. And that, this whole compassionate capital, conscious capital, these kinds of terms you've seen thrown around, I think these are the kind of investigations that we have to look and see how do we use this system in a non-exploitive way, which that's where the cooperative model comes in, which is what our model is. But we're also looking at how do people become investors, right? We're talking about asset. There's a bigger gap in asset than there is income between black and white communities. And so if we don't get at that difference, that big gap, we're just looking at income inequality, we're really missing like the real big picture that's gonna gulp us up in the next 50 years. So I think looking at how we do become social entrepreneurs, looking at how we use social impact, investors, these are conversations we don't have in a lot of nonprofit spaces. The whole idea is nonprofit. But I think these are conversations we have to start inviting in and really get brave and bold in bringing those conversations into our communities.
I have two questions. The first question is, I think that the work you're doing at the CDC is wonderful. One of the problems that I've seen is that we can get them in the house. How do you keep them there?
If you're like Detroit, we see different levels of CDCs. Some of them are great, they're doing wonderful work, they get the financing, they get the funding, and then you have other CDCs that are just not at that level. What are you doing to help lift up the other CDCs in the community so that they're able to do the work that you're doing?
You just spoke to my real passion, especially with your second question about working with others, because as I mentioned, there was tough competition between the three, and now we're one. We formed a new entity, and we have Hudson People Foundation and all of that, and the councilman behind it. For retaining homeowners, once we built Bakersfield and Brunt Manor, that created the Homeowners Association. And we have not lost, and I'm proud to say this, we have not lost one single homeowner in the 20 years that we've been doing development. Not one single home. And it's through setting up those homeowners associations. Like when we built the first 17 homes on Bakersfield, those homes were pre-sold before we dug into the ground. And these were people who came through our home buyers program. A year or two later qualified. We didn't even start the digging yet, and we sold all the lots. Right? So we're very engaged with them. And my challenge is, okay, if we counsel 580 families, I celebrate 98 families under contract, but whatever happened to that other group of people that didn't sign a contract yet? So for retaining them, you have to stay involved with them. We start community associations. We got the Brunt Manor. We built 21 homes on Brunt Street. That's the Brunt Manor Association now. They get 4 roll-offs for their cleanups from the city. They don't have to call on us for the dumpsters. They can call the city because they're a community association. They get their own 4 roll-offs a year. And we're very engaged with their meetings. We're very engaged with their finances, not in their business, but they know that we have continued services around reverse mortgaging, counseling, and all of that other stuff still going on at the center every day.
We really have to really think about how community development is being done in our cities and our communities. It's not a single approach.
Right.
It's an organic approach, almost like building, planning, and planning. We have to be intent on building the ecosystem and strengthening the ecosystem. That doesn't exist already, but it's fragile in community development. Some organizations are working with one executive director and one secretary, and they're taking on 20 different tasks. Some are working on housing and maybe even working on some social service programs, but don't have the staff capacity to do that. Because it's the real estate activity that's driving revenue, as Tony said, in their organizations. So we really have to start looking locally and looking more intentionally about how we're building our ecosystems to address the comprehensive approach to doing community development. We at Network for Development Conscious Community have called that and labeled that conscious community development. Conscious community development. Too much development has gone on in community college that's been unconsciously done.
That's right.
They're building senior housing projects, which is wonderful, but there's no services to support those seniors. No food, no basic needs, shoe repair, dry cleaning. And so we can't continue to ignore this process that's not building scale and capacity in our community. We can no longer accept it as being acceptable. We have to challenge our local leadership, be it political, our leadership to our local government agencies, to look and do things differently. But if you embrace it, then it won't happen, because they think that you're in agreement with it. And when we see wrong, we have to call wrong out to what it is. We can't continue to just anoint it, get our monies, and just go along with the game, because it's not benefiting our community. And so what she's pointing out is really a question of capacity. And if you don't have capacity, believe me, your scale of doing the work is minimized. You need capacity on staffing, skills. So the question I asked yesterday, and I asked again, when you came here to this symposium, did you think of bringing someone else from your organization with you? Because you can't be the houses of information by yourselves. That's not the way you grow your organization. And sometimes you have to step back at the opportunity and allow your other staff persons to take advantage of the opportunity. See, that's the spiritual work that we talk about doing. And so I hope as we continue to progress and grow through the day, that you take some of this away. You know, one of the pieces in your program was about the debrief. I really want you to really intentionally think about what have you heard in the last 2 days that could shift the work that you're doing internally. There was a question, and I really, Ms. Goldman, I really love the fact that you're working on that money piece, because that's important. Because we got to figure out how can we create monetary access to capital. We need capital to do what we need to do. And sometimes it may become a local perspective, but I think that we need to start looking at how we build a national fund to really support the work that we're doing. Our national intermediaries are doing this kind of work, because what they're doing is bringing resources back to themselves and not using the resources to go out to the communities to do the work. We need patient capital. Every dollar that we borrow doesn't have that return on it tomorrow. Allow us to do the work so we can get to a point of creating return and creating that balance sheet that a community developer needs to go out and talk to a bank. So, again, these conversations, folks, are on a ending, they're really a beginning. And I hope you embrace it such as that. And it's good to feel good. I heard a lot of good feel good yesterday, but I want to tell you to feel good and put it together with the work good, get results.
Yvonne, if I can share one other thing. One of the things we've done at Drew Heights CDC is we've invested in, I call it a reserve. And by setting up a reserve, it kind of gives us a little cushion, a safety. So we did open up an investment account where we're bringing back money on the money we had. And I think that's very important for CDCs. And of course, we are funded through state and local, and we appreciate all that funding. I'll take your money if you got some for us. We can use it in our youth program. Anybody write a check, write it to Drew Heights Youth Program. Just kidding. But at the same point, we'll take the funds, but we have to find a way to create our own. So in our real estate development, that creates our own. Nobody's attached to what we earn out of real estate development. And then we take that funds and put it in a reserve that brings back more income. So I think CDCs need to start looking at a reserve and having funds that you can put into an investment account, so that when these rainy days come, because more days are rainy than sunny, you have a reserve.
One of the strongest points that has to be made is how does that director educate its volunteer board, because they are in fact the fiduciaries of any organization. And again, part of that growth is as we attract professionals, oftentimes that professional is not reaching back to be a servant leader and a leader servant. We have to now, as Ron had mentioned earlier, as far as who comes to these conferences, are oftentimes staff people and not necessarily the people who we work with. And that is your board. And that is where you can get a lot of growth in your communities as far as accountability. I'm just making a point of myself as one time director of a community-based organization. And I tell you, it's hard work being a servant leader, whatever, because keeping that board apprised and bringing people on annually without giving a recap of the mission of the organization, and someone coming into the board and start sitting there and not having the same focus as to what you were starting. So it becomes very, very imperative that we do that annual board training, that folks who are sitting on that board has the same mission in place, in the same vision, because we have a tendency of bringing people on and leaving them, meeting once a month, staff taking on the responsibility, and leaving the board behind. So again, that's a very piece that I see missing in community development organizations.
Foundations, and they say, how much does the board contribute? You know what I mean? That's a measurement for these foundations. You got a board that haven't given you any money, and you're asking us for money. So, you know, I totally agree with you. And I think my board holds me accountable, and I hold them accountable.
Leadership team, and that's a leadership team that actually decides together, and that leadership team includes not just the board members, the legally fiduciary responsible folk, but staff members as well. And that's a model I think that we also have to start to entertain, which is how do staff also become co-decision makers in the organization. And this, I think, this understanding of shared leadership between board and staff, I think, is somewhere that nonprofits need to really dig into.
The co-optation of intentional work. It sounds like each of you are pursuing intentional work with people to, you know, actualize outcomes that really match the needs, and also to deconstruct some of the existing paradigms as well. So yeah, the question is, like, you know, in the context of capitalism and white supremacy, which we all acknowledge is real and like concentrates wealth and power, you know, in capital, in money. Right? How do you resist co-optation when you're seeking funds that are largely already concentrated in those ways?
Well, I resisted by, you know, just keeping moving forward. This is a study done by Georgetown University, Prosperity Now. Nonprofits of color led by black men have greater challenges than nonprofits of color led by black women. The system would rather give the money to the sister than the brother. But so we have a different set of challenges as black men running a nonprofit. And there were women in this seat. I'm the fourth ED of this organization. The women in this seat, I think, had a much easier time than me. But my resistance comes from proof in the pudding. I don't care what you think about me. You ask me to have a meeting, and I will have 200 people from the community greeting you at the door, sitting in the meeting with you. So you resist by proving yourself. You know, you don't fall into the stereotype. You don't give into the stereotype. You resist by proving your ability. You're making your own money. You know, we have our own reserve. We're not asking you for anything that we can't do for ourselves. That's how you resist, by proving yourself.
Henry Taylor from Buffalo. My question centers around mortgages. I've heard a lot of conversations and discussions about home ownership and mortgages. What I'm interested in is what kinds of activities are you engaged in to radically reform the mortgage packages that people of color have access to. I pose that question. It seems to me that we went from an era of discriminatory exclusion to predatory inclusion. So if you look at the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968, nobody talks about it. Everybody talks about fair housing, but we were subjected to all forms of fraud and predatory activities. Then we fast forward, much of the current dramatic decline in home ownership stems from the fact that blacks were steered away from the prime to the subprime mortgage packages. So it appears at every stage in the history of Black America and the mortgage and homeowner industry that we have been subjected to these predatory practices, and it is the predatory practices, not homeowner education and other things, that is responsible for the decline and the continued low levels of home ownership. So I'm just interested in what you all are doing to radically reform the mortgage packages that we have access to. Thank you.
We have a director who I wish she was here. She could list a bunch of efforts that we are making. But she's our director of Housing Council, one of our 4 departments. And she and her staff we receive calls, and because we're a HUD-certified housing counseling agency, someone calls the center and they have a question around mortgages and predatory lending. I can't answer. I'm not certified in that area, so they have to speak with one of our housing counselors. It's a big problem. We probably get 500 calls. You know, they have a backlog of calls today. It's a bigger problem. But what we are doing, and the groups at Baltimore have been working with the banks directly. They're now afraid of us. We have come to meetings with them. I was in this one meeting with PNC. I hope PNC is not in the room. Can I speak honestly? But are you in the room? Good. Well, I was in a meeting where a bank was talking about how they're going to distribute money, and this percentage will go to the Black community, and 80% will go to the Hispanic community. And we were like, well, you know, Baltimore has 80% Blacks and 5% Hispanic. How did you figure out this formula for distribution? So we have to hold the banks accountable. We have meetings with the bank. Groups of community leaders meet with the banks. I'll say one thing good that I can say about a bank, State Farm. They not only bring resources to the community, but they have some good answers around helping families. And so we got to know, we can't let the chicken and the hens. So we control who and how the community is educated and which bank comes in. And we don't allow that in the community center. I've had this one guy, he was selling real estate. And he asked to get on our agenda. Check him out. No, moral guy. So the community has to control the bank, not the bank control the community.
And I would respond to that from the investment side, because that's where we're at now in our process. So we're talking to an investment firm. I'm not going to say the name. It's an all-white firm. And we've been really explicit about working with Black and brown-owned firms and everything, realtors, everything. So this white firm is willing to work with us and bring us the money from their investors. And they're courting us now. And the discussion on the table is, for every high-income investor you bring in, we want their return on their investment to be less than the low-income investor, right? So for example, let's say return on investment for this year is 10% in general on all assets. What we're negotiating with them is that for investors that put in X amount and above, they will get back, say, 0 to 2% on their investment. And their 8% will go back to the low-income investor. And so at the table, at the very beginning, even before we get into it, we can't let our ego drive us, oh, they want to work with us. We're having the hard conversations at the beginning, and as a group making a decision, we decided that we would let them leave if they didn't want to have this kind of conversation about how we change the return on an investment depending on the amount that was getting invested. I think we just gotta be courageous, we gotta be bold, and I'm not saying our ancestors weren't, but we're in a different space and time right now. White people are talking about redistributing wealth. We're telling this investment firm, if your people are really serious about redistributing wealth, they gotta take it out of their pocket and expect different rate of returns than black low-income people. Just like that.
Thank you. Real quick, I had a question about cooperatives and what you see the potential and the barriers to having more cooperatives, owner cooperatives, purchasing cooperatives with nonprofit and CPC members, and what the space is for that.
For cooperatives, you mean in what form of cooperative?
Where the members are actually nonprofits, but we're talking about an ecosystem and self-sufficiency, like what's the potential?
Right. If I understand the question, I think you're asking about how we, in a cooperative with other groups, or how the people own what they own. I'm not sure.
A small scale example might be like the CPA, the consumer life, where like, for example, Xeroxing services are being purchased by schools and faith communities. And I'm wondering, like, at scale, as you're owning property, like, could the members be other CDCs and other nonprofits? Like, what's the potential for kind of scaling that and building power and self-sufficiency? Right.
So that's exactly where we're heading. We're initially building the cooperative, as I said, very locally, right? But that's where we are heading. Baltimore, just this weekend, there was the, Eastern Conference on Workplace Democracy. I wasn't able to attend because I had other engagements, but Baltimore is really stepping into that pie. We're saying that everything that we move forward, if we're really conscious about redistributing wealth and capital, it has to be looking at a cooperative model. So like the co-housing piece for us is going to be a cooperative model where of the 6 units in our building, how are people going to actually co-own that? And when they move, continue that model. And as we continue with the housing, acquisition housing, we're seeing that as part of a cooperative model again. So that's why I said we have to rethink capitalism and we have to bring these different lenses to it. But yeah, totally about scale, not just leaving it local.
And then I would just add in terms of bringing the work of cooperatives to scale, really looking at our anchor institutions, hospitals, churches, universities, right? In terms of procurement processes as well as the government procurement process to really get purchasing contracts to build the demand and help get to scale. Because right now, a lot of the worker cooperatives are not at scale. And the largest one is actually in the Bronx, and it's about 2,200 worker owners. And that's fantastic, but we need more. And how do we replicate? And how do we have these anchored institutions help us scale, given that we give so much to their organizations as well? It's not just about them helping us, because we're helping them as well.
I just want to add to what Carmen's saying. For those of you who are doing work and you have opportunities to secure vendors, think about how you and who you give the opportunities to. Because those opportunities can either go outside the community or be used to come back into the community to create growth. And so sometimes, and I said earlier, we can be we're working to our detriment. Because if we're not creating inclusive economies around our opportunities, and don't look at your opportunities being small. Working with those small vendors, because those small vendors are sometimes the people who are hiring your community residents. But if you bring in folks as contractors, and they're not hiring your local residents, if they're not investing in your organization, I'm quite sure many of you don't ask them for money. And I'm just making an assumption, but I guess that. And they're just doing the deal and leaving without leaving some equity there, then we're working against our best interests. So again, we have to really take a look at ourselves internally. Have this conversation with your board and with your staff in terms of how you're creating your own equitable platform internally. Because otherwise, Those extractive economies aren't building the worth and net worth that we need to have in our communities. So there are ways we can work intentionally to ensure that we are using resources to our best and not to our detriment.
That's so correct. I just want to say one thing quickly. We're 100% minority women contractors, minority and MDE, WDE, 100% across the board. Our printing services, our internet, IT services, 100% minority contractors. And I think that's intentional. I know it's intentional.
I'm still learning about worker cooperative, and I'd like to eventually start going. But I did also attend the conference this past weekend, and I just wanted to bring a financial model to people's attention that they might not be aware of. Now, this is more for worker cooperatives, but so if you were going to set up a worker cooperative, you could probably use this sort of outlet, or you could also look at, well, I want to make sure that all my financing consciously revolves around all Black and Brown communities or money from Black and Brown people or Black and Brown organizations. So the model that I'm talking about that you could sort of use as a thing is the Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy, BRED, actually funds worker cooperatives with worker cooperative funds. So that my point is take the money and figure out how to create a coalition so that you're taking money literally from where your consciousness is and where your values are and putting it where your values are. So the Baltimore Roundtable for Economic Democracy is a member of the financial cooperative catalyzed by the working world. So in other words, there's a whole bunch of these little organizations like BRED that work together to make sure that they fund other worker cooperatives and their work.
I want to thank everyone for the wonderful questions we got today. And I want to thank this wonderful panel with their patience. They were only supposed to be there for an hour, and we ended up being there for 2.5. So we appreciate them throughout the day for the other moderators. All right, I want to thank everyone for the wonderful questions we got today. And I want to thank this wonderful panel with their patience. They were only supposed to be there for an hour, and we ended up being there for 2.5. So we appreciate them throughout the day for the other moderators for the afternoon sessions, and for you, we will be adjusting the schedule so that we make sure we get everyone out of here by 4 o'clock. Because I know you have airline, bus, whatever way you're traveling. I did just want to make one note to piggyback on what Ron said this morning about the NDCC, about volunteers. And I just want to say that when we say we need volunteers, we appreciate volunteers, we mean from people that not only understand and know the subject matter of what we are here for today, but we also need people, and I'm going to say this, like myself, people that just want to come out and work. Because we need that. We give about 3 or 4 events a year or conferences and things like that, and we just need people to come out. The people you see at the front desk are volunteers. You know, Ron's brother back there, Hanky, he's volunteer. So we need volunteers. So feel free, you can sign up or you can come ask me if you're interested in just volunteering, even if it's just 1 event a year. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, many of you have come to me and asked me about a brochure. We no longer have any printed brochures, but we'll be starting a list at the registration date that if you want an electronic copy, you can sign up and we'll get you an electronic copy of the brochure. So like I said, we're going to rearrange the schedule. After lunch, we'll come back and give you that time. But right now, I want to ask Reverend Judith. Oh, excuse me.
Just one other thing. You see, there's a...
I just want to give our panel another round of applause, please. I'm here to prepare us for our luncheon. And because I am honoring all of you, regardless of what your religious affiliation is, we're going to do something called centering, where we'll take some deep breaths and just allow this wealth of information that's come to us to find its perfect way somewhere within you. So if you don't mind, would you close your eyes? And just take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. Relaxing yourself, finding the comfort and the security of the seat you're in. It's supporting you. And in this relaxing breath, you get an opportunity to open your mind and open your heart so that the seeds of this information find a home, a place, a comfortable spot within you from which they can grow. So we go out into this luncheon, out into our lives beyond today, taking these gems of ideas into liberating thinking, liberating action in all communities, for all people. And so from the genius